This is the Modern Mastery Unleashed podcast.
Welcome back, everyone. I am really excited, and I have a few questions that are going to help you frame and see what we're about to chat about. And it has everything to do with your voice and how your voice can help you better understand yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your preferences, your values, but also how your voice can help you make better decisions about your career, education, relationships, how knowing your voice can help you communicate more effectively, build stronger relationships, overcome challenges and difficulties, ways to cope with difficult and stressful situations, all of the things that you are dealing with on a day-to-day basis. And so it is with great pleasure to introduce and bring on our guest today, Manuela Lanza. She is a former CNN journalist. She's a professional speaker and certified voice coach with over 20 years of experience in communication. So when I say I'm bringing you the best of the best, trust me, Manuela is the best of the best when it comes to communications. And I'm so excited for you to be with us today, Manuela. Welcome.
I'm feeling goosebumps for that introduction. So definitely you're super connected to your voice right now. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, because, when we first chatted and you were telling me about these 5 voices and how, as a leader, you really need to be in tune with not just one voice, but what is your primary voice, how they all work together. And for those of you in our premium membership, you're actually going to get Manuela's quiz that's going to show you how to find your voice. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I want to just scale it back. And, it's so incredible that you were a journalist in your past life and sort of to see the journey. I know we've talked about it, but how has your life sort of led you to this moment before we get into what are the voices and how you can find your voice? I know that our audience is curious just to learn a little bit more about your personal journey and how you came to be this phenomenal voice coach, helping people find their voice and really live better and be better.
Well, honestly, to reply to that question, we need to travel together back when my mother passed away. So it's gonna be emotional, but definitely it was life changing. I do know also your personal situation. We did talk about how hard it is when, especially your mother, your father pass away, and they don't teach this in school. They don't teach resilience in school. They don't teach process grief in school. So when this happens, it's really a shock. So for me, and also my mother had a tumor, and this was during COVID. So imagine having your mother with a tumor during the lockdown. I couldn't take her to the hospital. We also were trying to heal her through holistic medicine. We went to Mexico. So imagine then when we came back to Alicante, Spain, doctors didn't support the treatment we were doing. So it was honestly super stressful, but I was in this superhero role. Like my mother will be fine, always doing the clown for her, making her laugh. But her attitude was very down. The way she was handling the sickness was really difficult. She was always very scared, of course. So all this journey burned me out. So before she died, I actually lost my health completely. And I started to have tinnitus, which is something you won't imagine, but I had panic attacks, and then I had this sound in my ear constantly. Beep. Imagine how that feels. Your mother is dying, you have tinnitus, you have anxiety, depression, panic attack. So the worst ever, considering I was always a positive, lively, bubbly human being, and suddenly, boom, everything changes. So just to keep it short, because otherwise we're gonna be here until tomorrow, but when my mother died and I was processing grief, I really had to look deep, deep inside myself. So all my wounds from the divorce of my parents came out. So not just the grief. So what this happens, all the shit explodes on your face, basically. So I had to really heal so many things, and I went, of course, into holistic lifestyle, yoga, meditation, mindfulness, love. My boyfriend helped me a lot, and little by little I started to rebuild myself, my whole life. In between all this chaos, I decided to become a coach. Like, wow, so entrepreneurship for me, finding my purpose, brought me back into life. I could reshape my whole identity, and being a coach after yoga, because also I'm a yoga teacher, but I prioritized coaching and I implemented all the wisdom from yoga in my coaching, and the well-being, emotional intelligence, the doshas. So I started as a well-being coach at the beginning. And as coaches, you got to have a niche. You got to have a niche. But I didn't stress out about the niche. I was focusing on first working on myself, and then, of course, offering that light to others. Actually, my fellow coaches during the course, they called me the resilience warrior, because they all knew my mother just passed away, I don't know, 3 months ago. And I was there, and also the course I took was from the States. So the time difference was huge, and sometimes I had to join the sessions at 3 a.m. But I really wanted to choose a very good coaching schools. In the States, they are the best. So, I did all this, and entrepreneurship for me was really life changing. We moved from Alicante to Tarifa, because also we had this thing of the restaurant, because I inherited from my mother the restaurant, first line by the beach in El Campello, Alicante, and the house, first line at the beach in El Campello, Alicante, above the restaurant. So you could say I could just rent this and never work in my freaking life, actually. But I didn't do that, because I was about to have a conflict with my father, because my father wanted to come back to the restaurant and run the restaurant with my mother's employees. They were divorced, they were always in competition. So when my father came back, we tried to reopen the restaurant with my boyfriend, who was the chef of my mother, by the way, and me. We didn't last, Natalia, 1 week. Not even one freaking week, because it was unbearable. My father was so full of resentment. My mother just died, so I couldn't handle his critiques towards my mother, the restaurant. So you know what I did, Natalia? I said, Papa, we're going to Tarifa. Take the restaurant, take everything, do whatever you want. Another daughter would say, Papa, this is mine. You are 74 years old. Just get out of my way. Because we're talking about a restaurant that earns around 300,000 euros per year. It has clients from over the world, and is 30 years business, so super established. So, I could just say, Papa, ciao. No, no, no. Papa, take it, because I lost my mother, and the last thing I want to have now is a conflict with my father. So that was my wow, the way I really could have space to understand who I was without my mother, without the restaurant, without my father, and we left. And then in Tarifa, I started my coaching business in the middle of the cows and the donkeys, in the field, like in the middle of nowhere. And I was so happy. I had no idea. Honestly, I can show you if you want. I have some videos in my Instagram, actually. When we just arrived to Tarifa, we were so lost. We had no idea what was going on, and we were so happy in the middle of this darkness and this chaos. We just trusted the journey, and then little by little, serving my clients, understanding, I just realized, my God, people have so many dramas with their communication, so many blockages in their throat chakras, and this is my natural gift and I just was born to speak. So I was like, okay, so actually I've been a journalist and everything fell down into place. And then I shifted into public speaking video also because now as entrepreneurs being on camera is also very important in a digital age. And you cannot imagine, there are speakers who are very good on stage and then on camera they freeze, and there are people who are very good on camera and then on stage they freeze. So it's really important to be you in any scenario. So that's what I do now. And also in leadership with the teams, as leaders we also need to use our voice, as you said, a lot. So this is like the I hope it wasn't too long, but it was really a big question for me to answer, and I really like to be superhuman. So yeah, this is the story.
And this is what I love about you, Manuela, because you don't leave anything on the table. You are who you are, you show up as you. And I think there's so much just inspiration in that alone for people who feel like they have to try to almost be someone that they're not, or they're trying to. I mean, I used to be petrified of public speaking because I was always afraid of, people would laugh at what I would say, or they would judge me, or they would reject me, and all this other fear comes up. But you're also talking about not just facing the fear and doing it anyway, but you're actually talking about connecting with who you are on the inside and really creating an experience with your voice, creating an experience and connection, and just really believing in who you are, what you stand for. And that is going to come through and help people relate to you. It's not you trying to be a certain way, being more professional or being more, I don't know, whatever you're trying to tell yourself that you need to be a speaker or to be on stage. It's like when you show up as completely yourself, there's no wrong and there's no right even. It's just pure experience. And thank you so much for sharing that journey with us, because there's so many people that I think can relate to your story, including myself. I mean, I got the chance to be with my dad in the hospital, so I can't even imagine what that was like during COVID. And I know there's lots of people that struggled really, just personally, with their family, emotionally. But I really want to get into these 5 voices that you talk about, because I think when people can have a framework, they can start to see how it identifies to them. So I'm so curious how you came up with these 5 voices and why it's important as leaders, as entrepreneurs, as high achievers, to really connect in with that and understand your voice on different levels.
Definitely. Actually, it's still connected to my mom in a way, I'm thinking. Because when I was in Mexico, I met a super inspiring leadership coach. She was the friend of a patient who had brain tumor, Jenny from Australia. This woman was so full of light, and my mother got so inspired by her because my mother was always like with this victim mentality and she saw this woman. She had a brain tumor, super smiley, super full of light, and her friend Tammy. So we go along and we met each other in that precise moment. After, I would say 2 years, when I start my business, we get in touch again, Tammy and I, and she talks me like she shares with me the 5 voices. Back then, I got super curious, as you are right now. You all are like, what is this of the 5 voices? And then she showed me how they work, and in the same as I did with you, she shared the assessment with me. So I did the assessment, and then she coached me through my first voice, and then of course I was more interested. So then she explained how the 5 voices work for me. And as we do as coaches, as real coaches, first we apply to ourselves and we create this transformation in ourselves first, and then we go out in the world and offer it to others because we spread the wisdom. We become healthy and we spread that health to others. So that's what I did. And then, of course, this is a leadership tool. This is powerful leadership technology created by an organization in the States called Giant. So I invested in their technology and integrated into my business of public speaking, also well-being. And this is the best part of the 5 voices. You can integrate it even to heal relationship with your partner, with your family, with your teammates, and of course in team building and leadership is amazing because imagine you get your people do this assessment. Obviously you need them to get trained on the 5 voices, and then you can skyrocket your connection with people. You don't need years and years to understand. It's like it gives you instructions of how people work, because we don't work the same way, we don't think the same way, we don't process information the same way, and there are so many conflicts and toxic relationships just because we don't really empathize with each other. We don't build that bridge. So it's super powerful, but again, it's one of the 60 leadership tools that we have. But obviously, it's the most engaging one because you can really implement it right away. So of course, fire your questions. I'm here to answer them all.
The other thing I love about you, Manuela, is that you infuse well-being in your coaching practice. And I think that really sets coaches apart when they're able to take that holistic approach and really use their personal experience and what they've overcome to share that wisdom with others. And just so you guys know, I definitely took the 5 voices assessment, and surprise, surprise, you may not, this may not come as a surprise, especially if you know me very well, but I'm a connector. That's my first voice. And so what are the other 4 different voices? And can you give us a little snippet for each one? Not to go totally into it, but just so people have a bit of an overview so that when they come into the premium membership and they do the assessment, they know, okay, like I'm going to get blown away here because I'm really curious to know which voice do I connect with primarily. And I'll tell you guys, like there's stuff in there, like the connector has people pleasing tendencies, and I am a recovering people pleaser. And so that's just like one little snippet from the connector quiz, the connector profile that I got. But if you were to give just a little brief overview of each of the 5 voices and slightly what they represent, so that people are like, oh, I need to know more about this, because you do need to know more about this. Whoever's listening, whoever's watching, you need to take this quiz. It is incredibly insightful.
Exactly, because already doing the quiz, it already skyrockets your self-awareness, because in order to reply the questions, you really need to dig deep into your behaviors and your patterns, right? So if you want to do the test before I reply to your question, just relax, don't overthink it, go with your intuition and be honest, because some people reply the person they would like to be, not the person they are right now. So reply the person you are right now, and if you would like to be another person in the future, just take it as a challenge. But you need to be super honest to find out your 5 voices. We call it the voice order. So yes, let's have like a taster of the 5 voices. I will keep it simple because I don't want to overwhelm you. Normally we do like a boot camp of 3 hours. Ooh, we do a boot camp of 3 hours to really get deeper into each voice and understand your 5 voices. But I really want you to give you like a taste. So these are 5 voices. We all speak 5. That's very important to understand. It's not like, for example, now you are connector. It's not you just speak connector. you speak all five. And also, very important disclaimer before we continue, we are not putting people in boxes. Every human being is unique. That's why then we coach on the results, because it really depends on your family, your life history, your experiences, because some people already worked on their weaknesses. So, for example, in my case, in your case, you worked on your people pleasing tendencies, meaning that now you can handle it better. But some people maybe take the test, first voice connector, and aren't aware that they have people pleasing tendencies, right? So it's really about taking this tool and making it yours. But of course, we are human beings and we are unique. Okay, that's very important to know, because sometimes doing these workshops in organizations, I always get, the difficult ones like, I don't resonate. This is not me. This is, and it's like, totally, totally. Just take from the five voices what brings you value and forget about the rest. Okay. So this is a disclaimer. So let's dig deep into the five voices. Let's start with the first voice. And also, when I give the presentation, I have like I have visuals to show you the five voices, and it shows you also the percentages of the population. And also, that's very interesting, Natalia, the volume, because there are voices that are louder and there are voices that are quieter. So that's very important also to know as leaders which voices around us tend to talk or be more intense and other voices more silent. So the first voice that we will start is called nurturer, from nurture. So this voice is the quieter voice with the lowest volume. But first voice nurturers represent the 44% of the global population. So we're going to have a lot of first voice nurturers around us. Nurturer is the voice of relational harmony, people's values. They care a lot about people. They have very strong values. And also, these voices are, when, there are conflicts or tensions, they really are like the relational oil in relationships. So, first voice nurturers are all about people. Then, I'm going to share with you, because I'm sharing the one strength and one weakness of each voice. There are more, but just to give you an idea. The weak point of first voice nurturers is they are so afraid of conflict and break this relational harmony that they go passive aggressive. They go silent. So they really avoid conflict. And then we all know on the long run is very toxic for relationship, because people don't know what's inside their minds. They don't express it. And also they find very hard to express their needs, and also they have people pleasing tendencies precisely because they don't want conflict. So that's the first voice, but they're all about people. They always like, how are you, how's your mother, how's your father? People always come first. That's first voice nurturer. Then we go second voice, creative. So if creative is your first voice, which is not your case, but if creative is your first voice, they represent only the 7%, I think, more or less, of the global population, meaning that not many people think like them. And creative is the voice of innovation, future ideas, thinking about a better world. And also, very important, first voice nurturer is oriented to the present. So there are voices that are present oriented, and there are voices that are future oriented. So nurturer is present oriented, caring about people in the present. Creative is future oriented. They think always about the future, how we can make the world a better place, and we're always innovating, thinking about the box. Weakness of the first voice creative, perfectionism. What they think is so perfect that when they speak, like their words cannot match how amazing the vision looks like in their brains, causing a lot of confusion in their audience. And I have a lot of first voice creatives, because I obviously use this assessment to my coaching clients. And when they score first voice creative, almost 90% of them complain people don't understand them when they speak, because they sound very abstract, they are not concise. So, but it's totally normal because you have so much creativity in your mind that we really need to build that bridge from your mind, your heart, and your voice and your audience, in order to be understood. We move on to the third voice, guardian. This voice is present oriented. This voice is all about system, processes, getting things done in the present, organization, planning. You give them a spreadsheet and wow, they will blow your mind, with this spreadsheet, Excel, uh, productivity tools. They are masters of productivity. What happens with this voice? They are very, very into finding out the truth and protecting the past. Why we should change if what we have been doing until now is working. So they're guardians, guardians. They, before they take on board an idea, they really need to test it, that everything is under control, that the risk is minimum. They wouldn't jump on an idea if they feel it's very risky. So these people are really good in teams because they are sure they get things done, the productivity, the ideas are very, very well thought before they take them on board. Weakness, they care so much about the truth and about being concise and on point that they forget that they are talking to human beings with emotions. So sometimes they can come across as a bit rude. It might not be their intention, but they forget about being a bit human in their approach. It's like, for example, in your case, your dad passed away, my mother passed away, and instead of going like, hey Natalia, can you please give me that report? It's like, hey Natalia, how are you? Is it okay? Do you need any support? It's like, no, give me the report right now. I need it. Ciao. You know what I mean? So these kind of things that happen, I know, because they are so into getting things done, but we really need to understand that people always come first. And sometimes people think about, oh my God, the way this person talked to me was too direct, and they take it as rude. So that's the weakness of the guardian. Then we move on to yeah. So I said nurturer, creative. Sorry, guardian, and now connector, which is your first voice. So take your pen and paper. No, I'm kidding. So connector. This is the voice many people want, like inspirational, passionate. They really know how to communicate efficiently, connect to people's dreams and values. So this is the voice that you need when you're speaking on stage or you're leading a team. You really want to get into people's emotions, really touch their emotions, make them feel inspired. So the connector voice is really good at that, and also is very good at connecting people, like Nokia. So, for example, if you know somebody that would really have very good connection with another person, you connect each other, say, Paul, I know Mary, wow, you should really talk to each other because you both like kite surfing. I was in Tarifa, blah, blah, blah. And you just connect them. So really good at connecting people as well. And of course, first voice connectors, we can handle a really large number of relationships. It's not like, for example, other people who are more like introvert and they get overwhelmed with so many friends and contacts. We love that. So we are born to meet people and have contacts and contacting people. We are the networking queens. Okay, so that's the first voice connector. Weakness, you mentioned it, people pleasing, but there's another weakness. There's another weakness that, because people pleasing, to be honest, Natalia is mainly stronger in the first voice nurturers because they are afraid of conflict and they run away from challenging conversations. But in our case, being first voice connectors, also a very important weakness is when we express an idea, it's like our baby. We express our ideas with a lot of passion. We put our heart into our ideas, into our thoughts. What happens? I'm going to give an example with somebody who is first voice guardian, who challenges a lot, which is great because bringing effective challenge is really good. But what happens is about the timing. So when we are expressing an idea, we are brainstorming out loud, we are letting out all these amazing emotions and vision. The guardian comes and says, but how? How are you going to do that? How much money do you need? How many people? And how are you going to contact all these people? And how are you are going to make this podcast, Natalia? And what communities you will reach out? Who is going to listen to this podcast? And why you want to talk about leadership, right? If you're in the middle of this creative process, unlocking your passion, and they burst your bubble. And if we don't know they are first voice guardians, we can have a huge collapse. But that's why it's very nice that in a team, for example, everybody has the assessment, the results. So then it will increase the connection. But moving back to our weakness, we take it very personal. So when somebody challenges our ideas, it's like they're killing our babies. So we take it very, very personal. And now I'm gonna let you speak and let me know if this is resonating.
That is so resonating with me. I can't even tell you. And it actually is much stronger than the people pleaser part when you sort of framed it like that. And that's one thing that I continuously work on is, not taking things personally and seeing feedback and, results as just information back to you so that you can then move forward, taking that information and just for what it is. It's not against you. It's not personal. It's not like it's directed towards you. You're in the process of, you mentioned this creative process. You're like, what about this? And we're going to change the world and we're going to do all this. And and then someone's like, yeah, but, and all the things that you mentioned, like, but what about this? And what about this? And you're like, why are you squashing my dreams? And it's like, that's not what is happening. It's like this distillation process of, okay, like, let's fine tune this together. But I can see just from what you've described so far, how critical it is to know not just your own voice, but those that you work with, and to really dive deep and understand each of these voices. Because even when you're working with someone that maybe they've not taken the quiz or they've not shared it with you, you can still see and identify and respond in a way that says, I get you. Why don't we look at it like this? Why don't we, yes, we're going for this huge vision. Let's break it down. Let's take a step back. Let's see how we could get there. Let's break this into phases. If you're talking to like the guardian, for example, who needs that just clear, organized plan, they need to just see it. I think I would imagine guardians are quite visual. They like to see it in front of them on a spreadsheet. And good Lord, I love a good spreadsheet. So I can definitely see my guardian in there. But yeah, it's absolutely incredibly insightful how, when you know these voices, you can start to have better relationships, have better communication, have more productive projects and more productive, like if I was thinking of a retreat and I'm thinking of who the leaders are, who I want to invite and how we're going to come together and make it happen. Just knowing these voices, incredibly valuable, incredibly valuable.
Totally.
Like this is pure gold, Manuela, like pure gold.
And we still have one voice left.
Okay.
I will give you the last voice and then another example that just happened in an organization, because I also do role plays, exactly, and I create challenges. I already knowing the voices. I will let you know after this voice. Pioneer. This is the loudest. This is the loudest voice. Actually, if you see the visuals that I normally have in the presentation, it has the highest peak, even over that's how do you say in English? Ay, my English. When you have
What's the word in Spanish? Maybe I can.
Decibelios, los decibelios, pam, pam, the lines that tells you when you're listening to music, you see, how loud the volume is, bam, 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 with these lines. So the Pioneer has even the line that burns, destroys, the speaker, because it's so loud. So when you have a first voice Pioneer in the room, bloody hell, you will notice it when they speak. It's like, wow, it's like intensity. Can be woman or can be man. It's just about the intensity, the intonation, the confidence they have is amazing. So this voice is kind of like guardian because it's also very organized, likes to strategize, but is future oriented, meaning is thinking about how we can create a military strategy to achieve these goals, to climb this mountain until the peak. And nothing is impossible. Everything is possible. Losing is not an option. These people are winners. You want these people in your team because they are freaking winners. They never throw the towel. They always working, visualizing, strategizing. This is like actually the manifestation voice, we can also say, to manifest things in the future. Weakness. Because that's the what I love about the five voices. It's like a mirror of everything and super fast. We don't need to do coaching sessions for 3 months. With these tools, I can coach you, and the results we get are really, really fast. So this voice, the weakness, is that they really want to win and they forget about people. So if they detect you are incompetent or you are weak or you are slow, they just say, move out of my way. I want to win. So they forget about people. We can see this in teams a lot. Come on. Like we are doing on something, somebody's a bit slow, somebody doesn't agree with some ideas, and these people are like, dominant. Like, it's my way. I have the universal truth. So they can come across sometimes as arrogant, okay? That's the weakness. And I'm sure many of your listeners, while I'm talking about the Pioneer, I'm sure they are already visualizing faces of people at work or in family, because in my case, it's my father, okay? In terms of family, it's like, oh. So I worked a lot to really improve my relationship with my father because I knew he was a pioneer. For example, I give an example how to handle a pioneer. You need to give them what I call the peel of ego. So in order to connect with them, you cannot tell them what to do. Come on, they will kill you. They already know what to do. So you really need to be super wise in the way you approach them, make them think it's their idea, not your idea. And also to really show you appreciate them, you value them a lot. So to be very assertive and to really feed their egos so they calm down and they can lower the defense wall, and then you can maybe add more ideas when they are immature, because that's the thing about the five voices. To achieve the maximum potential of every single voice, we can measure that with maturity. When you are mature, you are achieving the maximum potential of your voice. When you are immature, you are in the lowest potential of your voice, where all these weaknesses that I shared with you show up. Nurturer, people pleasing, passive aggressive. Creative, perfectionism. Connector, taking it very personal. Guardian, rude manners. Pioneer, forgetting about people, arrogance. So, this is the immature. What I shared at the beginning is like the mature version. So let's use maturity actually as a tool to measure if we are accessing the fullest potential. And just to finish, super important, the results tell you, basically they tell you your first voice, but in order to understand how you can make the most of the five voices, you need to understand your full voice order. And your first two voices are key because your first two voices are your foundation. And the other three voices, they get filtered through your two voices. Meaning Your first two voices are your strengths, the voices that come natural to you. And the other three other voices, they are less natural, but you can still train them. I'll give you an example. My last voice is guardian. Guardian. So I knew that, especially in sales, we really need to be guardians. We really need to be actually connector and guardian. So inspire people, but also go on point because people don't have much time. So you really need to inspire them, give them the numbers, the benefits, the results they're going to get concisely. So for example, a very good combination, but in sales, I always say is connector guardian. Because if you stay connector creative, you are not concrete. They don't know what I'm paying for. They need to understand, I'm giving you this money. What am I getting in return, right? So you see, you can apply it in so many scenarios, even understand potential clients, their psychology, how to talk to them. So it's super, super fascinating.
I was literally about to say that. This is so fascinating. And I mean, whether you're running a solo business or you're in corporate, you're working in a team in your own business, you're ready to expand your team, you're ready to hire, everything that you've said, it's so enlightening. It's so enlightening because, as you were explaining all five of them, I could see myself in all five. And I'm really curious now to know what my second primary voice is. Because like you said, it's that foundation. And I could see how the other how your two primary voices are going to be used as filters for the other ones. And you said it at the very beginning, when you have that awareness, everything starts with awareness. So when you have that awareness, it's just accelerating your personal power, your purpose. It's enhancing you as an entire being, because you're able to now understand yourself a lot better. You're able to understand others a lot better. And relationships is such a key life element of ours. When I'm thinking about the Wellness 360 framework that I learned through a coaching organization in the States as well. So I love that you went there too. But I mean, we didn't go to the same one, but it's fascinating when you start to see these frameworks come together and you start to see how important is it to have that relationship with myself, relationship with others, but also that community piece, which is the energetic layer of relationships. And that is what you want to bring into, your work world, your friendship world, your family world, like everywhere that you are having relationships. It's vital to know these voices. It's really, really important. So thank you so much for sharing that with us, and for giving our premium members the quiz to do so they can find their first voice. And we will definitely put your contact details around this, because I think, like I said, whether you're running an organization, you're in a manager at an organization, you're on your own as a solopreneur, you're expanding, like wherever you are, this is so key to truly understand yourself and making things happen. Like you said, whether it's sales or like, it can help in so many ways. It's incredible. Thank you.
Incredible. And before we go, can I give you two more quick examples on
Yes,
how I
please.
apply?
Yeah.
Like, just because they just happened, so they are fresh in my mind. So one of my coaches went cold after I sent her progress report after 3 months together. And I know she's first voice nurturer, meaning for her it's not easy to bring challenge on the table. And I felt, so when a first noise, when a first voice nurturer goes silent, red flag. he or she might feeling something and not sharing it. So what did I do? Very assertively, I sent her a message saying, hey, I noticed you went a bit cold. Maybe it's my imagination, but if you want to share something with me, please, I'm super open for your feedback. Please do. Magic happened after that. She shared that she was expecting more information in the progress report because she likes to study and to have a lot of instructions. And I said, wow, thank you so much for telling me that. And I improved the progress report, sent it back to her, happy client. Can you imagine, after the 3 months together, we end up with an unhappy client? But because she went passive aggressive, I knew she had that tendency. So very wisely, I created a very safe space for her to share. So this is really good, for example, for your coaching business. You don't want unhappy clients, especially at the end of the 3 months together. One example. Another super funny example that happened doing team building in a corporation. Sorry, there was a first voice guardian. Mamma mia, first voice guardian 100%. And there was a first voice creative 100%. So I created a role play and a challenge for the guardian. And I said, look, David is going to give you an idea and he's going to talk no matter how long it's going to take. You are not going to interrupt David. Just listen to David until he stops talking. Do not interrupt. So you should have seen the guardian. He was like becoming red, like listening and listening and listening and listening and listening, because first voice creatives normally their thoughts are all over the place. They don't tend to be concise. So imagine, it was so hilarious. The whole team was laughing like crazy. But you know what happened at the end? He liked the idea. He liked the idea. And the idea was crazy. It was something like out of the blue. But it looked like a crazy idea at the beginning. But then he liked the idea. And then when he was allowed to speak, he was asking very good guardian questions. Okay, what are the resources available? How do you envision to market this? What are the potential clients? So he was asking very good questions, guardian question, but at the right time, without interrupting the bubble. And then he loved the idea. He really saw the potential of this idea. An idea he might have thought was crazy, because he gave that space to the creative. Because think about it, first voice guardians don't have that creativity. They need creatives to bring in ideas. And also creatives tend to be, how can I explain? They lack confidence sometimes. So they bring an idea and they have a lot of self-doubt. So if you interrupt a first voice creative, it's going to be really bad for them, because it's going to undermine their confidence, because they already think their ideas are not good enough. So when I get first voice creatives as clients or friends, I do know I really make an effort to make them feel understood, make them feel heard, especially them, because they take very personal when they don't feel heard. They really take it like, oh, what I'm saying is crap, and then they silence their voices. And last thing, just to give you and to your audience, that I just feel so generous because I'm so passionate about this. As a leader, if you know you have first voice nurturers and first voice creatives, is it very nice when you start a meeting, before the connectors, the pioneers, the guardians start to speak, wait and give them voice first. Like, what do you think about this, Sarah? Because normally they are not going to be the first to speak. And sometimes, or most of the times, they're going to be silenced in meetings. Creatives, because they think their ideas are stupid, and nurturers, because they just feel overwhelmed and, by all these people, and they just go silent. So if you give them, as a leader, for example, you're organizing a retreat, hey guys, what do you think? You go first to engage with your more quieter voices. That's really good leadership, you know?
That is incredibly insightful yet again, Manuela. And I'm actually thinking back to a lot of like meetings in my old corporate world. I'm thinking about a lot of meetings with, where whether it's coaching clients or like I'm thinking about a lot of different experiences and how much more effective it can be when you really understand these voices. And like you said, it's that individualized approach using generalizations like the general five voices, the traits, the weaknesses, the strengths, how they make decisions, what they value, etc. But you can apply them on such a unique and personal level because, like you said at the beginning, and how we were saying, just because you're a connector, it doesn't mean that you're not an individual first, right? Like you need to use these and take from it what the value is for you. But, you know, how incredible, I'm just thinking, how incredible is it when you do have a meeting like that and you give that voice to the creatives or, the guardians who are potentially, the nurturers, you said, the nurturers and the creatives
Great.
who may not, at the end of the meeting, you say, okay, does anyone else have anything? And the people that are going to be like starting and like you said, like the connectors, the pioneers, the guardians, like they're going to come out and be like, okay, this is what I found. And because they, like you said, their voices are sort of naturally louder. I love that when you're able to really know people's voices, that you give them their voice as well as a leader. It's just incredible. I can't wait for people to reach out to you because it just will impact you on every level of your life, not just your career or your business. It will really change everything for you. And that's why I brought you here, Manuela, because I knew that what you had was, I never come across that before. And I know that our listeners, they need this information so that they can be better coaches, they can be better parents, they can be better partners, they can be better leaders, better entrepreneurs, whatever you want to insert there, better high achievers, they will in their own right just know who they are deep down and be good with whatever the voices they are. And when they work with you personally, they can learn how to harmonize that and leverage those five voices in a way that they can articulate, they can communicate, they can be stronger, more confident, all of these things that we're all wanting to achieve. Some are farther along the path than others, and it, just knowing that the voice has so much to do with it, it's incredible. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm just so passionate about sharing this tool. And that's the best part. You can integrate it into all the amazing things you are doing. Like if you're doing retreats, you're doing well-being workshops, anything, because it's relationships, everything. How we communicate, how we manage our relationships. And I always say it's very common to say, oh, this person is toxic and this other. No, I don't believe people are toxic. I believe relationships become toxic because we don't know how to handle them, which is completely different. We need to take responsibility for our actions. And I always say, lead yourself to lead others. So that's the principle. And another principle that I like to share is we never graduate from the school of self awareness. So there's always, always so much to learn about ourselves and about others, and to lead ourselves, to lead others, is just so beautiful because that's the purpose, right? That's why you are doing this podcast. That's why we just spent 1 hour exchanging and just sharing all this amazing wisdom, because we have a purpose, which is empowering others, a life mission. So for all those people who are listening who really have a life mission, they can integrate this into their lives. But of course, first they need to apply it to themselves. And it was also really interesting when you get coach on the five full voices. is then it tells you how to handle other voices. So according to your voice order, then it tells you, okay, if you have in front of you a first voice connector, like you and me, this is the tendencies. This is how you can connect, and this is how you can undermine your influence. So you understand how you undermine your influence and how you can actually connect at a high level depending on the voice you have in front of you. And also it tells you, so amazing, the nemesis voices. So there are voices that are completely the opposite of you. And if this happens in a couple, they should know. Because they just like process the information completely different. And so maybe they keep having arguments like in a circle, and they can break it very easily, if they understand this. Like, for example, if your man is first voice guardian, okay, and you are first voice creative, but you have a problem, Houston, if you don't understand that he is present oriented and you are future oriented, meaning you're always dreaming about the future, about the movies in your head, and he wants to get stuff done now. So you're always in this, and he's gonna burst your bubble a lot, and he's gonna get frustrated because you talk about abstract things he doesn't give a damn. So it's really important to, okay, hey, I want to express this dream. Just dream with me for one moment. I don't want to get into the how yet. Let's dream together. And you just express that need of dreaming. And then him can tell you, hey, now let's get things done, okay? Because I want to achieve this with you. Boom. So you kind of set up the scenario of the conversation first, and everything is sorted, guys. I fixed your life. Thank me later.
Honestly, like what you just described there is, how do you frame a conversation? How do you frame a conversation so that you get the buy-in, the attention, the mutual connection with who you're speaking about, so that you have a productive conversation? I'm just in love with this episode. I'm in love with I'm just so happy that we came across one another, and that you're here with us, because I think this is going to be first of many chats that we have.
And actually, I want to thank Helen, because Helen was the one who tagged me on Facebook in one of your posts. So apparently she follows you, and she hasn't done the assessment, but she did what a first voice connector would do. Exactly. I know Natalia, I know Manuela. They might get along very well. I just gonna tag Manuela. In her post. So thank you, Helen, if you're listening.
Thank
Maybe
you,
you're
Helen.
a first voice connector.
Oh, well, when you're back in Spain, we'll definitely get together. But thank you so much, Manuela. It was such a pleasure. I can't wait to have you back. And yeah, for anyone in our premium membership, you get Manuela's quiz, so you can find your first voice. So come and join us over there, and go and follow Manuela. Go connect with her. She is a beautiful soul, but she is wise beyond belief, and you just need more of her in your life. Trust me. So thank you, and we will see you all next time.